Abigail Thompson walked through the sunlit office, the gentle hum of computers and the low murmur of her colleagues filling the spacious room. Her heels clicked softly against the polished hardwood floor as she moved towards her desk, a subtle weight of self-consciousness pressing on her shoulders. "Everyone always looks at me like I am not capable enough," she whispered under her breath, a mix of frustration and resignation in her tone. Around her, small clusters of coworkers glanced up from their monitors, exchanging quiet whispers and brief, stifled laughter that she could feel prickling at the edges of her focus. Abigail took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves, feeling the slight heat rising to her cheeks as she made her way to her workstation. The sunlight streaming through the tall windows caught the soft strands of her hair, and she carefully brushed it back, determined to maintain composure despite the subtle but undeniable judgment surrounding her. Sitting down at her desk, she opened her laptop, fingers hovering for a moment over the keyboard as if gathering courage. The digital screen glowed warmly, a small sanctuary amid the undercurrent of silent scrutiny. She adjusted her posture, trying to convey calm confidence, but the tension in her shoulders betrayed the internal struggle. Every tap of the keys was deliberate, a rhythm of resilience as she forced herself to focus on the tasks at hand, to prove to herself more than to anyone else that she was competent and worthy. Outside, the sounds of the city of Los Angeles drifted faintly through the glass, cars humming along the streets, a distant siren weaving into the urban symphony, reminding her that life moved on with or without her acknowledgment from others. She took another deep breath, straightened her spine, and met the screen with renewed determination, letting the soft hum of office activity fade into the background as she immersed herself in her work, each click and scroll a small act of defiance and hope. It was a bright morning in downtown Los Angeles, the sun casting long golden rays through the glass facade of the hotel conference center, where Abigail had arrived early to set up her materials. The lobby buzzed with a steady flow of guests, organizers, and assistants scurrying to ensure that the day's event would proceed without a hitch. Abigail whispered under her breath, "This is my first time attending this conference," her voice a mix of nervous anticipation and quiet determination. She adjusted the strap of her tote bag, feeling the weight of her portfolio against her side, and glanced around the bustling room filled with the hum of conversations and the subtle clatter of coffee cups being set on tables. From the mezzanine above, Benjamin Carter made his entrance, moving with calm confidence, a subtle aura of authority marking his presence. His tailored navy suit contrasted sharply with the sunlit lobby, and he scanned the room with sharp, observant eyes, noting every detail and the flow of attendees with methodical precision. As he walked towards the registration area, he held a sleek leather notebook in one hand, flipping it open occasionally to make quick notes, capturing insights about the event and the people present. A few hotel staff passed by, offering polite greetings and smiles, yet Benjamin remained focused, his mind assessing the room for both opportunity and talent. Abigail noticed the shift in energy as he entered, a quiet intrigue stirring within her, though she quickly turned her attention back to arranging her materials, her fingers brushing over the pages with careful precision. She felt a mixture of excitement and tension, her heart racing slightly as the realization hit that someone of his stature was now sharing the same space, observing the same environment she had worked so diligently to prepare for. The lobby's large windows framed the cityscape beyond, a canvas of bustling streets, honking taxis and pedestrians weaving through the morning crowd, adding to the vibrant, almost cinematic atmosphere of the scene. Abigail straightened in her chair, taking a deep breath, trying to steady her pulse, aware that every small action could influence the impression she would leave, and yet a part of her could not help but wonder how her day would unfold with such a significant presence now in the room. The tension lingered in the air, mingling with the scent of freshly brewed coffee and polished wood, leaving Abigail poised at the threshold of possibility, curious and uncertain, with the next moments of her experience still unwritten. Abigail sat at a corner table inside the hotel conference room, the soft glow of morning sunlight streaming through the tall windows, illuminating the neatly arranged stacks of her presentation materials. Her voice broke the quiet hum of early arrivals as she muttered, "This project is going to be harder than I thought," a mix of anxiety and determination in her tone. Around her, assistants and early attendees moved briskly, checking schedules, adjusting microphones and carrying trays of coffee, adding a subtle background of motion and sound that mirrored her inner tension. When she began her first attempt at presenting her portfolio to the small panel of colleagues and organizers, she noticed the frown of one of the senior reviewers who quickly shook his head, signaling disapproval. Abigail felt a flicker of doubt cross her mind, a pang of frustration tightening in her chest, but she pushed it aside, knowing that giving up was not an option. She took the rejected draft from the table, her fingers brushing the crisp edges of the paper, and began making adjustments, her mind racing through alternative layouts and color schemes that might better communicate her vision. The room smelled faintly of brewed coffee and polished wood, and she could hear the distant murmur of conversation spilling in from the lobby below. She straightened her posture, inhaling deeply, feeling the weight of expectation from both herself and the surrounding environment, and carefully spread out a new set of materials, arranging them just so on the table. Her heart pounded as she rehearsed her words silently, testing the phrasing and pacing, making sure her voice would convey confidence despite the earlier setback. Each movement was deliberate. A gentle tap on the pen, a slow swipe over a sample layout, a pause to reconsider and refine her approach. Colleagues passing by glanced at her work, some offering brief nods or polite smiles, while others whispered softly among themselves their opinions in invisible yet palpable presence. Abigail felt a mixture of apprehension and resolve, her mind juggling the fear of failure against the determination to impress, to prove that her vision had merit, and that she could rise above the small early rejection. The sunlight shifted across the room, casting moving shadows that mirrored her fluctuating emotions, and as she prepared to present her revised portfolio once more, a quiet tension lingered in the air, leaving the outcome uncertain, her next steps poised on the edge of possibility, setting the stage for the unfolding story of resilience and unexpected encounters. Benjamin Carter stood quietly near the back of the sunlit conference hall, the soft hum of conversation around him blending into the steady ticking of the large wall clock. His eyes were focused on Abigail as she rearranged her presentation materials, moving with a careful precision that spoke of dedication and attention to detail. "She really pays attention to every single detail," he whispered under his breath, a mix of admiration and curiosity lacing his tone. From his vantage point, he could observe the subtle tension in her movements, the way she paused thoughtfully before placing a sample layout, the slight furrow of her brow as she evaluated her own work. The room itself was filled with early morning light filtering through wide windows, illuminating the polished wooden floors and the sleek modern furniture that framed the space with a professional, yet welcoming ambience. Assistants moved about, adjusting chairs and carrying materials, their quiet efficiency providing a backdrop to the unfolding personal narrative. Benjamin took a small notebook from his briefcase and began jotting down notes on her process, careful to remain unobtrusive, yet keenly aware of the nuances in her approach. Every glance, every small adjustment she made, seemed to speak volumes about her character, her persistence, and her creativity. Abigail, sensing the subtle but attentive presence, felt a strange mixture of nerves and validation, aware that someone was truly noticing her effort, yet uncertain how this observation would affect her day. She straightened her posture, inhaled deeply, and tried to focus solely on the work in front of her, her fingers brushing over the paper as if each touch could imbue her with calm determination. The gentle morning sunlight shifted slightly, casting moving shadows across the floor that mirrored the flickering uncertainty and hope within her. Benjamin continued to take notes silently, his eyes scanning both the materials and her expressions, internal calculations and impressions forming with each passing moment. The quiet tension between observation and effort created a delicate rhythm in the room, a cinematic interplay of human intent and environment, leaving Abigail poised on the edge of anticipation, the outcome of this scrutiny still uncertain, setting the stage for the pivotal moments to come. Abigail's hands trembled slightly as she rearranged the final set of design samples on the long wooden table in the hotel ballroom, the late morning sunlight filtering through the expansive windows and casting a warm glow across the room. She whispered in exasperation, "Oh no, I dropped all the design samples." Her voice carried a note of panic that momentarily drew the attention of nearby attendees. Several event assistants and fellow participants glanced over, some with sympathetic frowns, others unable to suppress quiet chuckles at the mishap. The soft carpet muffled the slight clatter of the samples hitting the floor, yet the visual disruption felt magnified under the gaze of the gathering crowd. Abigail bent down quickly, gathering each sample meticulously, her fingers brushing over the smooth papers as she tried to restore order, feeling the heat rise to her cheeks and the flutter of embarrassment settle in her stomach. She could hear the subtle murmurs from a few early spectators and felt the sting of self-consciousness, battling the urge to flee or hide, yet determined to maintain composure. The scent of brewed coffee lingered faintly in the air, blending with the polished wood and the quiet ambient noise of chairs being moved and whispered conversations. Each collected sample was carefully stacked, her movements deliberate and precise as though every placement could rebuild not only the arrangement